Meet Sabrina. Sabrina is an 18-year-old girl living with her parents and older sister. She is still in high school, but has been feeling for a long time like it just isn't for her. She dreams about traveling the world and meeting new people. Boys in particular. The problem is that she doesn't have the money to travel anywhere. She had a few odd jobs, but they didn't pay nearly enough to fund her ambitions. She is always trying to come up with new ideas on how to make a lot of money quickly. She's willing to go far for this money she wants. Little does she know that a golden opportunity is about to be thrown right in her lap. Gets a call from her sister about a babysitting job. One day Sabrina get a call from her older sister. She used to babysit a lot when she was younger, but now she doesn't do it anymore, seeing as she has a better job. She was asked to babysit a little boy named Kenny. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell for more amazing stories. The son of a couple that just moved into town. Sabrina gets recommended. Her sister immediately recommended Sabrina for the job, seeing as she knew she needed money. Sabrina was doubtful the job would pay as money as she hoped, but then she came up with another way to maybe make the job a lot more lucrative. Let's first look at the side of the parents, but to give the story a bit more content, we will have to look at it from the other side. From the side of the parents who decided to hire Sabrina and regretted it deeply. Let's go a bit further back in time and to tell their full story. Patrick and Sandy are a couple living in North Dakota. They have been together for around 5 years and incredibly happy with each other. They have a 3-year-old son named Kenny, and they try to spend as much time with him as possible. This is, however, somewhat difficult, seeing as they both have to work. They mostly fix this with the help of a good friend who would often babysit little Kenny. When Kenny turned 3 years old, Patrick and Sandy started to consider moving to a bigger house. They believed their small apartment in the city would not have enough room for the 3 of them, especially because they are considering making another addition to the family. They don't really want another nanny. Moving house could have a lot of unwanted consequences, especially when moving somewhat far away. One of the biggest problems would be to find a new babysitter. This because poor little Kenny has some special needs, and their current nanny knows exactly how to handle Kenny. Afraid Kenny might react poorly, Kenny has shown in the past to react poorly to new people in his life, and their current nanny isn't the first one they found either. But she was the first that could really take care of little Kenny properly. It helped that she had known the family for long before she started, and Kenny was thus used to her. Another problem with moving was the financial side. Even though they both worked, they couldn't afford a bigger house in the city they currently live in, and thus decided to look for options further away, despite the daunting task of finding a new nanny. An opportunity arises. Patrick discusses the issue at his job. Patrick's boss overheard the conversation and told him that a job position similar to Patrick's current occupation had opened up at their other office. He also knew that the housing prices in the area near that office are a lot lower than in the city in which they currently live. Patrick's very enthusiastic about this opportunity and immediately tells Sandy when he gets home. She is skeptical at first because she will have to find a new job, but Patrick manages to convince her and they start looking for a new house. It doesn't take long for them to find a place that seems to fit most of their needs and is even within their price range. In the time span of about a month, they have bought the house and almost finished moving in. While Patrick can start working as soon as he is settled in, it takes Sandy a little longer to find a new job. This isn't immediately a problem because it allows her to spend more time with Kenny and take care of him, but their financial situation is starting to take a hit from this. It takes Sandy almost 3 months to find a job, and because it took this long, she needs to start making more hours than she would like. She also has to start working as soon as possible, and thus have to quickly find a suitable nanny for Kenny. They ask a couple of their neighbors if they have experience with some nanny in the area, and if they have a recommendation. Their next-door neighbor had a nanny she was happy with a couple years ago, and they get her number. Sadly, when they call this girl, she tells them that she has a full-time job now and doesn't nanny anymore. However, she does recommend her sister, Sabrina, and has a lot of positive things to say about her. This convinces Sandy to contact her, even though she is doubtful. When they call the sister, she is immediately excited and seems to really want the job. She says that she loves kids and could use the money. She is also confident she could deal with Kenny. Patrick and Sandy decide to set up a meeting with her to discuss it. The meeting goes over flawlessly, and Patrick and Sandy feel confident in giving Sabrina the job. She starts the week after, the same time that Sandy herself is able to start working at her new job. The first day, Sandy is able to also be present, but after that Sabrina has to nanny Kenny alone. They first 2 weeks go past swimmingly. Kenny needs a little while to get used to Sabrina, it seems, but the more time passes, the more he seems to like her, and the pair now get along great. Patrick and Sandy can keep working without having to worry, it seems. After these 2 weeks, however, some strange things are starting to happen. Sandy and Patrick are starting to notice that more and more items are getting misplaced, or they can't seem to find them at all anymore. Some examples are a cheap handbag, some cans of food, bottles of wine, and even a small amount of money. Sandy first blames Patrick because it often happened that he would forget something or misplace an item. Patrick thinks that he isn't responsible for any of the stuff going missing, but he can't be entirely sure because of his history. He devises a plan to either prove his innocence or maybe catch him putting something away mindlessly. Without Sandy knowing, because he thinks she won't agree with this plan, he places a couple of hidden cameras in the house to capture places where things supposedly go missing. A couple days after these cameras are put up, Sabrina suddenly quits the nanny job. Her reason for leaving is that she won't have the time for it anymore, seeing as school is starting to get busy again. Patrick is afraid she may have found the cameras, but is afraid to ask this because he doesn't want Sandy to find out about it. He decided to stay quiet about it and accepts that Sabrina is leaving. Because Sandy's work is just continuing, they need to find a new nanny. Sandy quickly found a website where you can hire a professional nanny. This nanny is a lot more expensive than Sabrina, but she doesn't have a choice seeing as she needs a new nanny right away. Nothing seems to go missing in the weeks after this, and Patrick starts to forget about the cameras. He has not checked any footage whatsoever yet. Sandy doesn't talk about the missing stuff either, because nothing important ever went missing. When Sandy and Patrick plan to go to their first fancy dinner in a while, Sandy wants to wear some of her nicest jewelry. But when she opens the well-hidden jewelry box, she discovers that some pieces are missing. They immediately think of blaming the new nanny. This is difficult, however, because they have no evidence. Then Patrick thinks about his cameras. They may have captured something that could give them the answers they're looking for. They immediately think of blaming the new nanny. This is difficult, however, because they have no evidence. Then Patrick thinks about his cameras. They may have captured something that could give them the answers they're looking for. To their surprise, they can't find anything in the footage that would suggest that the new nanny had stolen the jewelry. It doesn't help that the location of the jewelry box is not being recorded. Just when they are about to give up, Patrick stumbles on the footage of their old nanny Sabrina last day. They are astounded when they discover what had taken place on the day that Sabrina quit her job. One of the cameras captured Sabrina looking around the house, and they eventually see her walking with the jewelry box. In another shot, they see her trying everything on, and she seems to be picking the most beautiful-looking pieces. Patrick and Sandy are outraged and immediately call the police. Because they have everything on film, it doesn't take long for them to contact Sabrina's parents and take her into custody, where Patrick and Sandy can talk to her. It turns out that Sabrina had sold the jewelry already and was planning on using the money to make a trip abroad when she would be done with school. Luckily, she did not spend any of it yet. The police managed to track down the missing jewelry and safely return it to Sandy. Sabrina claims to be very sorry, but when her parents come, they pick her up. They admit that this isn't the first time she had pulled a stunt like this. Even with this information, Sandy and Patrick decline the opportunity to press charges. They don't want to be responsible for a young girl getting a record and believe her parents will do enough to prevent this from happening again. Besides, they were just happy they got the jewelry back and still have to admit that Sabrina was very good with little Kenny. Binding bonds through beautiful tales. Thank you for watching.